Konnichiwa, konbanwa, ohaya gozaimasu, oyasu night. I don't know what good night is in Japanese. This is Geeks and Gaijins. If it's not obvious, I'm the Gaijin. He's the geek. I'm John. He's Tom. Yeah, I just said that, Tom. God, this is going very swimmingly, isn't it?
This is very easy to coordinate when we're just screaming at empty video monitors, yes.
As we go on, this is Geeks and Gaijins, where we try and explore the world of Japan, usually through anime, but we're kind of dry on that this week. So it'll be anime themed, aka if you want to learn new things about Japan, this is where to come up. We might occasionally make anime references because we are weak. We are only men. So one of the big things that has just finished in Japan.
John here is a little sensitive about exactly what's been going on in Japan. There's been a major tragedy or needs to be addressed that needs to be brought to the international stage.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
John has no idea what I'm talking about. He's blocked it from his memory. It will forever be referred to as that thing that didn't happen.
Yeah, on Saturday, that thing that did not happen from 6 o'clock till 8:30. I blacked out for 2 hours and then went to karaoke. That was my Saturday night. To be honest, it was a pretty good Saturday night.
Usually the blacking out comes after the karaoke, I imagine, but you know.
Okay. I suppose we'll get this over with. England lost the Rugby World Cup to South Africa. Boo. Or yay, depending on where you're listening to this from. But rugby.
Or if you're like me, nah. I'm entirely neutral on this, despite coming from one of the countries involved.
This has been biggest thing in Japan. It's basically been a stress test for the Tokyo 2020 Olympics, seeing how Japanese authorities can deal with one, typhoons, B, lots of crowds, and C, foreigners being idiots.
And how did they fare on that, John?
They seem to have been generally okay. I think some bits got quite rowdy in Osaka and Yokohama, but that's what those places are like anyway. Well, especially Osaka. Osaka's like, to the prim and proper Tokyo, Osaka's like, yeah, we don't play by the rules. We'll cycle on the pavement.
Goodness me.
That's the sidewalk for those who don't know, for our American listener. Hello, Jim. Your name is Jim now. But no, Osaka is also, they stand on the different side of the escalator to the other places in Japan because they're so cool and edgy.
Okay. Goodness me, what rebels.
Essentially, Osaka is New York / East London.
Nice.
/ Japan. No, it's a very nice place. It's a very friendly place, a very outgoing place. If you want to go to somewhere where Japanese people are the least Japanese, and somehow therefore even more Japanese, it's Osaka. It's also Osaka. It's not Osaka, as I keep on saying and I keep on hearing. Osaka. I'm going to Osaka on my way to Kobe. Osaka and Kobe I make a lot of my co-workers laugh by imitating the Westerners. As just someone for the Olympics give the Westerners like how to say Japanese place names because it kills me. But Rugby World Cup was fun. The Japanese people got really, really behind it. They've been great hosts. I'm sure the 2020 Olympics is going to be great, especially now that they've moved the marathon to Sapporo rather than Tokyo, because I was in Tokyo in July. I was in Tokyo in July and early August. I couldn't stay outside for more than about 20 minutes because it's hot, but it is the most humid place in the world. And I wouldn't want to run a marathon regardless, but I wouldn't want to run it in that. Oh, God. I think they made the very correct choice to move it to Sapporo, which is in Hokkaido, which is going to be a lot colder.
What is Sapporo like? Is that another city or is it a more rural area? What's it like?
Sapporo's the biggest city in Hokkaido, which is Japan's northern island. It's on the same latitude, longitude, whatever, of like the United Kingdom and bits of Canada. It's where most of the skiing and snow and all that kind of stuff is.
Ah, neat.
It's the coldest part of Japan. It's the coldest part of Japan, so it's the best. It's also where Sapporo beer comes from because it's the same name. It's the same name as things.
Who would have thought?
Exactly. Speaking of things that children should speaking of beer and children should not have beer. What a segue!
Nailed it. Absolutely nailed it.
If we're thinking of the Japanese youth when it comes to rugby, the Ute that there is. I lived in South London. Shut up. They didn't seem to be super behind or super interested in the rugby. I think mostly because I teach at a school that's 2/3 of it are girls. So, not to say women's rugby isn't awesome, but girls are going to be inherently less interested in the men's Rugby World Cup. Also, rugby isn't a huge sport here regardless, but like the teachers were into it and some of the kids were were saying that they watched it, so that was fun. And I got about 25 Japanese teenage girls to do the Haka, which is, I think, 25 Japanese girls doing the Haka whilst led by the whitest Englishman alive, whilst wearing a suit and tie, is, I think, an image best left to the imagination of the listener.
I beg to differ. I personally wish you had recorded that so that I could watch it just on loop. That sounds hilarious. And also slightly adorable.
It was, and also hilarious. It was so funny.
You must have been terrified whoever was teaching next door to you.
Maybe they were just laughing. That's more the fact that I'm been doing animal sounds with them, because animals make different sounds in different languages, and so you can hear down the corridor me going moo and and me getting a class of like 30 Japanese 16-year-olds to go nee.
Okay, hold on. You can't just mention this idly. You have to tell me what the different Japanese sounds for animals are now. I have to know this.
Japanese animal sounds. So really basic ones. Inu, aka a dog. They go, instead of going woof woof, they go wan wan. Wan wan, wan wan.
Nice. Cats,
or nekos, as you will. Neko. Instead of going meow, they go nyan, nyan.
Yep, familiar with that.
Is why, if you're an internetese person, the meme nyan cat is why it goes nyan. Frogs go gether instead of ribbit. Gether, gether. The most different ones are pigs. They go boo. As in B-U. Boo, 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 boo. Horses is the one I find the most hilarious. As of course in English, a horse goes neigh. In Japanese, a horse goes hee hee.
Okay. Okay. They just make Michael Jackson noises, is what you're telling me. Oh, God.
Also, I can't do what a Japanese rooster does because I was teaching them cock-a-doodle-doo. Instead of going cock-a-doodle-doo, they go cock-a-cock-cock-cock. Cock-a-cock-cock-cock. My throat is not built to make those sounds.
Yeah, it's not too different from cock-a-doodle-doo. It just sounds like halfway through you start choking instead.
Yeah, pretty much. Nice. Also, sheep instead of ba go me ba. They're just very self-obsessed.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get that. I see that. Japan knows what it's on.
Sometimes my job is fun. I will say that. And speaking of fun, do you know what kind of fun I've been seeing people going around doing? The general Japanese populace, how dare they?
I'm absolutely out of the loop with this one. Please tell me. I want to know.
I saw a 60-year-old, probably 70-year-old man playing anime gacha games on his phone on the bus.
Okay. Well, that is surprising, but, anime is for everyone.
Indeed, but it's not unusual. I would say it's a little unusual due to the fact, like, mostly I could see CGI Overlord characters over. I was just like, and Tom, you have some strong opinions on Overlord.
I do have some very strong opinions on Overlord. Probably very unpopular opinions as well. One that I've recently distilled into pure salt form. And
Hashtag watch our YouTube channel. Hashtag watch part 1.
yes, that will be coming out at some point. I've no idea.
That's at some point we're doing the Marvel Cinematic Universe thing of it will appear in the future. No, it's more the Netflix thing of it will be ready when it's ready. When it's ready, shreddy.
Absolutely. I'm very impressed that you were able to identify the Overlord characters, considering you have very little exposure to Overlord yourself.
It was literally the main character from Overlord. It was the guy with the skull for a face and a big black.
Fair enough.
Bloke.
He's fairly iconic. I mean, to be fair, one thing I can't complain about Overlord is all the character designs are really quite strong. All the silhouettes are really good. You'd be able to pick out any of those characters quite easily. This is okay. So there's a guy on the bus, 60-year-old playing Gacha.
Yeah, well, I didn't ask him his age. He's like, he could be 25 with a horrible wasting disease. I was just horrible in assuming his age.
Maybe he was just exhausted for some reason.
Well, yeah, he had been. I was coming back from climbing a nearby mountain. No jokes. And he was on the same bus there. So it's a big mountain. And it's very tall. I always say lots of Japanese people, very nice. Another rugby story then, as you're climbing, going like, konnichiwa. People passing going, ohayou gozaimasu, good morning. Konnichiwa. Also getting the great from just a konnichiwa, nihongo jozu, which nihongo jozu just means, oh my god, your Japanese is so great. Jozu just means to excel at. And it's like, I just said konnichiwa. No, Japanese people say that a lot because they just assume you know more than 0 words in Japanese. Like, okay, I just said.
That's nice and positive.
It's nice and positive, but it's also sometimes hilarious because he's like, I had it today. Like, it's like a little girl almost ran into me in the supermarket. I was just like, and her mum was there behind her, and she was just like wafting her away. And I was like, oh, daijoubu. And she was like, oh, nihongo jozu. I was like, okay. I literally said daijoubu in Japanese is no, it's like, it's all right. I was like, okay.
They're not familiar with the power of weebs.
Yeah.
And how much Japanese they accidentally pick up.
Also, I live and work in Japan. I can at least say hello, goodbye, and thank you.
I mean, to be fair, most of these people living there, I imagine, have not seen a man quite so foreign-looking as you before. So.
Oh no, I have all the blondish hair. But also, whilst climbing this mountain, one of them rugby story. One of the guys I saw was wearing a Japanese rugby shirt, as you do. I was like, rugby, sugoi, it's awesome. And I was like, hi. I just pointed at myself. I went Igirisujin, which means Englishman or British, and just mimed a single tear, which got a laugh from the Japanese people. They said some things more in Japanese, but once again, due to my lack of knowledge of Japanese, I didn't understand. But no.
You just politely nodded and smiled and then backed away slowly.
I didn't back away slowly. I was on the side of a mountain.
That would have been unfortunate, yes.
I more kind of held my head in my hands in mock shame and continued on.
Nice.
But there we are. Those were my adventures on an untitled mountain, and this section has really run out of steam. So, speaking of steam, you need steam to make buns.
Oh, Snappy did it.
Segway-san. And that means it's...
Snack break.
Dang.
So I have... In terms of snack break, Tom didn't send me what things to get today. So I just went to the supermarket myself because I was hungry. And so I was thinking, in themes of snacking, I should get what the Japanese call snack breads. I have 2 snack breads here. They are very. You'll be very familiar with them if you know anything about Japanese snack breads, as you all do. Tom, do you know anything about Japanese snack breads?
I mean, I've watched enough anime for them to come up, and that's about it.
Okay, so I have the very famous kare pan. Pan, Japanese take the word for bread from the French, so pan just means bread. Kare pan is, as it says here in English, bread curry. It's a bun with curry in the middle. And this one is meron pan. I want to give you 3 guesses, Tom, what flavour it is.
Meron pan, is that how you pronounce that?
Yep. Meron pan.
Bean.
No, it has no flavour, it's just sugar. Meron pan is only called...
God damn it.
You can get meron-flavoured meron pan, but basic meron pan is just... it's just like a cake or bun with like a cookie dough that's then double baked on top of it. And because of the score lines on the cookie dough, it looks like a cut up melon. So that's why it's called meron pan. And so meron pans are sweet, but I'm going to go for the savoury first because I'm like that. And my curry pan. It smells of bread.
Nice, that's a good smell.
It tastes of kind of a sweet brioche because everything in Japan is, if not overly weird, is overly sweet.
Well, obviously, they came in contact with the Americans and they just dumped all their sugar on them along with the rest of their food.
Yep, I'm getting very kind of anyone who's ever eaten a pie or a sumo Pop-Tart. Basically, all the fillings gone to the bottom, so I'm not really getting any. I'm just eating bread.
No. Oh, well.
And that's called slightly too sweet curry.
Ooh, yeah, yes. Mm.
I'm sure Japanese kids love it, but it's not really for me. But that is curry pan. I will give that curry pan a Danganronpa, the original animation, out of 10. And that's the one that adapted the video game, and God, is that not a good anime, because it's just the video game again. Play the video game, it's much better. But now we have the thing that I actually bought these things to do.
Goodness me, what could it possibly be? Drum roll, please. I'm not going to do a drum roll, that would be annoying.
It's the meron pan. I can add a drum roll in post.
Sure.
Editing Tom.
Editing Tom.
Editing John. Get to it.
Yeah, not a job for editing Tom. Editing Tom just cuts up the video editing John makes.
And so we have the meron pan. It's nice and sweet. Meron pan is delicious and is the reason why, if I ever stop living in Japan, I will come back being about 10 kilograms heavier. It's just like a cakey bun with chewy sweet biscuit on top.
Ooh, chewy sweet biscuit.
How can... It's so good. I do like the anime girl sound, the perfect bite, oh. I will leave the rest of that for later because I don't want to just scarf it in my face.
Too tempting.
Because that will happen. That will happen, I promise.
How is that significantly different from like a donut or something then? Is it more like a brioche or?
It's imagine kind of like a cakey bun almost. So you're almost making like a kind of really sweet bun. So like an iced bun or something.
All right.
But then on top of that, you have a biscuit layer that is once baked, is then placed on top of those buns while they're soft, and is then baked again on top of it to basically fuse them together.
Wait, is it like a whole piece of biscuit or is it like biscuit sprinkles?
No, it's like a mat of biscuit.
Oh.
So it's like it fuses to it. It's the entire top of the bun is the chewy biscuit layer.
Cool. Nice.
And it's bad. I'm just snacking on this melon pan now. Speaking of meron pan is actually the key to a Japanese sports day event, because Japanese sports days come around several times a year. My school has 3. And we had one, it was last month. It was last month or the month before. And one of the events was a race that involved trying to grab a melon pan that was being dangled above them using only their mouths.
Nice.
Because in the UK, and I assume the US, our sports days are relatively tame, like maybe shot put, running, long jump, triple jump, lots of jumps, not being involved because you're too lazy and the school doesn't care. Those kind of events are all our favourites. In Japan, instead, they have, of course, the melon pan race, the I'm going to dunk my head in a bucket of flour to find a sweet race.
Oh, no. Oh, that sounds uncomfortable. Ooh, no.
The trying to wrestle tires off the other team competition.
How is that different from a tug of war exactly, other than tires involved?
Oh no, they have the tug of war as well. Like there are several tires, and each class are like 20 or 24 kids, and so they each try and run and try and basically pull the tire to each side. But I forgot the best bit. Whilst all the tire wrestling is going on, like to pull the tire to their side, the YMCA is playing. Keep on, stay with me. Sung by a very famous Japanese singer, and every time it gets to the chorus where they go the YMCA, they have to drop the tire and do the YMCA part of the dance, with a teacher basically on each tire making sure that they put it down to do the YMCA dance.
You're right, we should have had that in our sports days. That's so much weirder.
I'm inherently jealous of just all Japanese sports days. They are so fun. It included a race where all the different clubs raced in like their club attire. There was like a relay race that involved, I think the girls' football team won. But it was like them versus there was like the basketball team and the different team. And then you also had Kyudo, which is Japanese archery. Their club, which their uniform includes like a long billowing trousers. Yeah. They came last.
Yeah. Oh man, those poor kids.
Yeah, I know. They look like they were having fun. But no, and then the entire like school does stretching and stuff before doing it. But also now, tomorrow, as of recording, my school has a ball sports day. What is it? It's like, so the sports day, but only for ball-related sports.
Wait, was the first one you were describing a general sports day, or was it like a track and field day, or?
It was mostly like everything was generally a race or a kind of relay race, except the tire wrestling, the tug of war, and also there was one to do with trying to. Each team has basically a guy with a basket on their back, and the entire like field is covered with like soft beanbag balls, and so all the rest of that kid's class is then trying to throw it into the other team's man with a basket on their back. So the team that has the fewest balls wins after a certain amount of time. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. It's a little bit like dodgeball, only with a very specific goal.
Yeah, kind of. And you've got like 80 Japanese school children chasing after 4 people.
Oh, that sounds terrifying.
I know, it's great.
And okay, so what's going on with Ball Sports Day then?
From the very limited things that the Japanese teachers will tell me or that I can understand. Essentially, ball sports are really popular here in terms of things like softball, which is essentially baseball, but basically girls play it. I don't know what the difference is because I'm not American and I'm not Japanese. And they're all the same weird amalgamation of cricket and rounders. But essentially, it's like, I think it's like softball, baseball, volleyball, not netball, because they don't really know what that is here.
But they do have basketball, yeah.
Yeah, they do have basketball. So it's all those kind of things, and I think it's going to be actually more sports related, like we would know a sports day, rather than grab the melon pan with your teeth after. Oh yeah, one of the relay races, I think that same relay race included downing a bottle of fizzy drink at the beginning, as fast as you could.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
That sounds messy and terrible. Which I get.
Yeah, exactly.
Point.
Yeah, generally Japanese sports days seem to be about like involving the school, involving everyone as much as possible. And in my one, it tends to be a competition between all the different like classes. So each of the different homeroom classes. And so which one wins the most events and stuff. Because generally the first years and the second years and the third years all generally only fight the first years and the second years and the third years. So it's generally even. And so it's which wins which of the years and sports day kind of thing.
Nice.
And even though it's hilarious, they still keep those like, ooh, we must get our scores and places right. I'm just like, this is about trying. Yeah, three-legged something race with I don't even know anymore. But yes, that's the joy of Japanese sports days.
How is anyone supposed to have fun without a clearly set of rules and guidelines, Combi? Come on.
I don't know, but I will say, if I could import one thing from Japan, I would probably import Japanese sports days, also the culture festivals, but we'll probably get into that in a different episode, because school culture festivals are the awesomest.
How many of those do you have a year?
Only one, but literally the entire school grinds to a halt for the culture festival. It was my first, like, second week on the job. It was like, we don't have lessons this afternoon. Why? Because the entire school is just working on their culture festival stand and their performances. It's like, okay.
Nice. That's good. Encourages creativity.
No, it was great fun. All the third years turned their, it was very popular. Most of them tend to have a haunted house or thing. So all the third years turned their homerooms into haunted houses.
Any chance you're going to be able to convince your school to include a rugby competition in their ball sports day?
Probably not, though apparently one of the PE members of staff used to be a member of the international Japan rugby squad about 20 years ago or something ridiculous.
Well, that's all the excuse you need, and then you can just send groups of Japanese schoolgirls to do the Haka each other and just have a glorious Haka off.
I want an anime about Japanese schoolgirls learning the Haka.
Well, with the sheer quantity of cute girls doing cute things anime we get season by season, it's inevitable that we're going to have a cute girls play rugby anime sometime in the next 5 years. So
that has to exist.
Looking forward to that.
There must be a rugby anime, but we need women's rugby anime. That will be the best animes. But no, that's been the Japan update from your Japan correspondent sitting in my cupboard in deepest Japan.
Thank you, John. Now we'll go back to the studio with Tom, who has absolutely nothing to contribute.
Back to you, Tom. How do you think people have been talking about Japan there in the United Kingdom, where Japan is an everyday topic of conversation?
Yeah, I really don't think they cared about Japan other than the fact there was a typhoon stopping them from watching their rugby at one point.
Yeah, lots of people got really angry about that. Almost 100 people died. Cool it down, guys.
Goodness me, yeah.
Did 100 people die? I want to get that right. I don't want to just claim 100 people died.
That's good information to get accurate, yes.
Death toll hit 74, so I was close.
You can round that up to 100 if you want.
Yeah, it's like over 70 people died. Like, cool your jets. Like, but my sport isn't playing.
Yes.
It's like, well, they shouldn't be had there, as opposed to the World Cup, the Football World Cup in Qatar, or Russia, or Rio, or London, for that sake. There we are. That's my international badmouth corner.
Oh well, we're now blocked in several countries.
I think your YouTube video is actually blocked in Italy due to a copyright claim.
It's blocked in the Vatican, I believe.
Those goddamn Vatican weebs.
Definitely losing the majority of our market now, unfortunately.
Pope Francis is. What do you think? We have a really high Catholic following. It's like, I love to hear about Japanese sports days, but they badmouthed the Pope. They've gone too far.
Now I am just imagining some Catholic priest in the Vatican squirreled away in a confession booth watching an anime. And it's ridiculous.
Pope Francis, we need you to bless this pigeon. Shut up! I've got the 4th episode of My Hero Academia on. It's really good. I like this All Might fellow. He reminds me a lot of Jesus Christ. He even dies for our sins and everything. Come on, guys. You need to watch this with me.
I think Aizawa feels the more traditional Jesus look, but yes, in spirit, All Might can be our Jesus.
Have you heard about our Lord and Saviour? All Might, have you heard the good word? And on that bombshell.
Oh, dear.
Come watch this guy with all the hands on him. He looks creepy, but this Deku guy, he's nice. Reminds me of John, or maybe Peter. That's the Bible anime comparisons right there.
Why do we not have a Bible anime at this point? I mean, come on, really.
There will be.
Come on.
That will exist.
We need to find this Bible anime.
It will exist. It will exist due to the fact that I think it's something. Loads of the political elite of Japan are Christian because they sent all their kids to be educated abroad. Actually,
now that I think about it, I believe there was a slice of life anime that featured Christ and Buddha hanging out and being roommates. So,
of course they did, and also for some reason extremely prevalent uses of nuns in Japanese fiction.
Love it. Lots of nuns. It's either nuns or shrine maidens, as far as the eye can see.
And on that nunshell, I think that's the end of the show.
I think it's best to wrap it up here, yes.
Exactly. That's been Geeks and Gaijins. You can find us on the Facebooks, the Twitters, the YouTubes,
iTunes,
the Podbeans, all the places where you may absorb audio through your ear holes.
Ear holes.
Maybe about Japan. Maybe about anime. Maybe I'm getting slightly worried about Tom's reaction to the word ear holes.
Ear holes.
Keep tuned. We have new episodes every week of us generally maybe becoming more Japan focused than anime focused, but yeah, we're going to make dumb references and talk about Japan a lot. So if you want to discover more with your resident gaijin, John, and...
Oh, now you're letting me do this. Okay, and your resident geek, Tom.
Then I hope you tune in next week. Make sure you like, subscribe, and smash that like button.
Hey.
Yay. So, Mataja, Matinee, Matharaishu. See you next week, guys. Bye-bye.
Ta-ta.